Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's announcement. I'm Graham Wilson. I'm the Director of Communications for the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, and I'm going to be your moderator this morning. In a moment, I'm going to introduce our panel of participants, and each of them will be making some introductory comments before we open it up for questions. First, some housekeeping notes. Please be sure your microphones are muted if you're not speaking. That will help eliminate the possibility of some random background noise. We will be taking questions via the chat feature. So if reporters could submit their questions and who they should be addressed to, I will then relay those questions to the panel. And if you could also provide your name and your media outlet as well, that would be helpful. Now I'll do a brief introduction to each of our panel and then open it up for their opening remarks. First, we have State Superintendent Mark Johnson. Superintendent Johnson has been the State Superintendent for Public Instruction in North Carolina since January 2017. Second, Mr. Andre Smith. Mr. Smith is a linebacker with the Carolina Panthers, and he's a native of Jacksonville, Florida, played his football at the University of North Carolina. He was drafted in 2018 by the Carolina Panthers and is here as one of the key leaders of the Carolina Panthers Player Impact Committee. We also have Mr. John Bischoff. Mr. Bischoff is Executive Director for North America Commercial Category at Lenovo. We also have Superintendent Deanne Meadows of Columbus County Schools and Superintendent Jeff Maples of Richmond County Schools. With that, I will turn it over to Superintendent Johnson for some opening remarks.
Thank you, and thank you everyone for being with us here today. And I will keep my remarks brief because the real credit today goes to the Carolina Panthers, the Player Impact Committee, and Lenovo. Today, we are announcing a partnership through the Player Impact Committee of the Carolina Panthers, in which they will be donating 600 Chromebooks to Columbus County and Richmond County for students to use in this very difficult pandemic crisis. We started a great relationship with the Carolina Panthers over a year ago. They reached out to us and wanted to know what they could do to help the Carolinas in more than just entertainment and football and camaraderie, but really start to address issues in our schools. And they joined with us to start the Third and Goal reading program, which has been a huge success, and we're very grateful. But as soon as they saw the challenges that students were facing across all the Carolinas, they immediately reached out to us and said, how can we help? What can we do that would have the biggest impact? And as everyone has seen, we had to go from 0% to 100% remote learning overnight, which was extremely challenging. And we know it was tough on students, on teachers, on parents, but that's even for my daughter and myself, where we have good internet connectivity, we have the devices. It was a challenge for us. It was an unbelievable challenge for students who didn't have the devices at home, and teachers really stepped up. They got materials on delivery on school buses, through the mail, they checked in over the phone. But really, we know that there will be some students who will probably still be remote learning when we go back in the fall, and heaven forbid if we get a spike, we'll all have to switch to remote learning again. The Carolina Panthers and the Player Impact Committee decided that they really wanted to help some rural districts that needed to help close those device gaps, and that's why we're here today. And we're very grateful for them. And with that introduction, we're pleased that we have Andre Smith to talk a little bit more about this program and how the Carolina Panthers are helping. So I'll turn it over to Andre, and just a huge word of gratitude to the Carolina Panthers for helping school districts and students who need it most.
Yeah, I just want to start by saying thank you for everyone that was involved in this this movement, this gift to these two counties. It just wasn't the Panthers; it was a lot of other people involved who had their hands in place. But it started, like Mark said, with the Third and Goal reading. They just asked me to read. I think it was Clifford and Jack and the Beanstalk, like a little combo story. So it was great, but one of the things that was brought to my attention during the reading was that they wanted to make sure the reading was good and just energized and not very monotone, because one of the issues in the Carolinas was little Black and brown boys have struggled with reading efficiency. So that's what they told me. And, from then on, I said, I should try to help. So we move on and we get to the third and goal, kind of the launch for it. And there's a bunch of second and third graders there and a bunch of North Carolina Literacy Department people. And, it was great, there for the kids. But I ended up meeting some great people. So I ended up meeting Miss Galloway, who is the kindergarten through third grade director for the Department of Literacy in North Carolina. And basically, she reached out to me on March 3rd and was just, asking if there's anything that, if we had any plans to do anything else with reading proficiency and efficiency, during this time. And so, I contacted her back and, asked her to join the Player Impact Committee call. And from there, this thing arose and, ideas were being thrown around and, different things. And we ended up coming to the conclusion of, partnering with Lenovo and to handling these two counties, the most in need counties. That's also a focus that we wanted to, hone in on, is really focusing on these two areas in need. I think the Player Impact Committee, what we try to do is not do, the cutest of things and be kind of, far away in distance. We like to be more hands-on and a little bit more nitty-gritty and to really help those who really, really need our help. So that was the main premise behind it. So thank you to Ms. Galloway for reaching out to me, because without her, that was the spark that started all of this. So thank you to her. And also thank you to Lenovo for partnering with us and also helping facilitate all of this. I'm very thankful for you guys.
Great, thank you. I've been asked to remind everyone before we go to our next speaker that if you go on speaker mode, then you will just see the person speaking instead of the grid view. So if you're looking for that, you can do that on the speaker mode. So thank you, Andre Smith. Next is John Bischoff with Lenovo to talk a little bit about their involvement in this project.
Yeah, thank you, Graham. We at Lenovo are thrilled to be involved in this. We, as one of the largest technology companies in the state of North Carolina, we're in the unique position to provide help when it's needed. And with more than 3,000 employees in the state, we've already given well over $1 million in technology to the schools. Education is one of our key focuses of our outreach. And clearly, since we're in Wake County, much of our efforts have been focused around Wake and Orange and Durham and Johnson counties immediately around us. So this was an opportunity to help extend our reach, to ensure that students in underserved counties are provided with that technology in these difficult times of the COVID-19 outbreak, when they need to have access to technology to be able to keep up with the learning from home. So when the Panthers reached out to us, it was a really easy decision to jump on board. So with our partner CDW, who in a time of extraordinary demand for Chromebooks across the country, they helped by ensuring that they reached into their supply lines and helped to provide the equipment and prioritize it over to this initiative. So like I said, we're thrilled to be part of it.
Great, thank you very much. I would now like to call on Superintendent Deanne Meadows of Columbus County for some comments.
Good morning, everyone, and I appreciate being here and being able to be a part of this. I want to thank the Carolina Panthers, the Player Impact Committee, the Lenovo, the state superintendent, and the other state leaders who were able to make this connection. For us to receive 300 Chromebooks is an amazing gift, and we really appreciate it. As a district that has experienced this pandemic, but also many of you may not know, we had a cyber incident in October that caused our entire network to go down. And when we recovered, we had to increase the security in order to keep that from happening again, which caused us to lose many devices that would no longer connect with that new security. So being able to add some devices that we know can connect to these new security requirements will help us. Also, during this closure, we learned a whole lot about remote learning, and we learned about how many students did not have access with devices to the internet. So working on trying to fix those barriers has been a big priority, and so you're helping us to meet that need. Obviously, in a district that has many students that face poverty, they don't have a device at home besides maybe a cell phone. And so being able to provide each student a device so that they can be sure to access their educational experiences is a necessity. Obviously, the biggest gift our community and our nation can give any person is an education. And so this is going to help us to be able to provide that experience and a good educational experience for students as we move forward. So I just really want to thank you again for helping us to overcome equity issues, because it's always about that, whether it's equity of access or some other equity issue. We really have to work to overcome that. And we want to provide every student the best possible opportunity. So thank you again to the Panthers, to Lenovo, to the Player Impact Committee, and Superintendent Johnson and his colleagues. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Superintendent Meadows. Now we'll have Superintendent Jeff Maples of Richmond County Schools.
Thank you, guys. Superintendent Johnson, thank you for your leadership during these difficult times, and it's been a tremendous help with your coordination through DPI and the webinars and the Zooms and maneuvering through these difficult times. But a big shout out to the Carolina Panthers and to Lenovo for recognizing that there's students in rural counties that are underserved, and really letting us know that there's people out there that care about our kids and care about our teachers and want to make a difference, and just planting that seed of hope and goodwill that goes so far. Our students were so excited about these laptops coming in, these Chromebooks, and they're sponsored by the Carolina Panthers, and that brings even more excitement. And this is going to enable us to provide Chromebooks for our elementary students. We've not been able to do that in the past because of the financial limitations. But hopefully we'll be able to put these in the hands of our elementary students, maybe jumpstart, but certainly at the beginning of the year. Hopefully our kids will start school, but if we have to go to 100% remote learning, that these students will have a nice device and connectivity to take home with them. But appreciate you guys and what you do, and recognizing the challenges that we have in the rural parts of North Carolina. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Maples. We're now ready to open it up for questions. If any reporters want to use the chat feature to submit their questions and who they should be addressed to, I can then relay them to the panel. And if you could give me your name and your media outlet as well, so that we'll know who we're addressing. So the chat room is open for any questions from reporters. So this is the question from the Richmond Observer, Kyle Pillar. Just wanted to clarify, it's 300 laptops per district.
I'm sorry, I'm having trouble using the chat feature. May I just speak my question? This is Diana Matthews from the News Reporter in Whiteville in Columbus County.
Certainly. By the way, my understanding is, yes, it's 300 laptops per district for a total of 600. So yes, ma'am, go ahead with your question.
What was the process of determining that these two counties would be the recipients of this help?
This is Mark Johnson. I can speak to that. Again, we're grateful with the way that all of this came to fruition and started when the Panthers were given the idea by wanting to do something. We also went and talked not just to our K-3 literacy division, but our digital teaching and learning division as well. And our digital teaching and learning division at the department has been sending out surveys to districts all across the state. And one reason we honed in on Columbus and Richmond were because, quite frankly, the gaps there were so big. And this is really where it could have the most impact to help the most students with the most need.
All right, so if you are having trouble doing questions via chat, you're welcome to speak up and do questions that way if that's easier for some of you.
And to further answer that question, I know I have some emails just in my email about just how, we went about finding that information. I know we searched the top 10 quantity student devices needed and the top 18 quantity hotspots needed by the LEA. And so we looked up a lot of data. We also looked up the economic ranking and the education ranking in order to just determine, how to go about it. So there was a lot of data being done and research also.
Great, thank you. Next question. So this is addressed to everyone, probably the two local superintendents specifically. How will it be determined which schools will be getting some of the laptops, or will there be an application process to acquire them?
So this is Deanne Meadows. I can speak to Columbus County in terms of we have currently, our middle schools do have one-to-one devices. So our biggest need is at our high school level. And so the devices will be divided among our high schools for individual students to be able to get that. We want to become one-to-one at the high school level, obviously across the board, K-12, because of the need to potentially go back to complete remote learning this next year. But that's where our biggest need is in terms of having the fewest devices at our high school level. So that's where we will place those devices.
Yes, and this is Jeff from Richmond. Our high school was one-to-one, and our middle school students, we had enough laptops and Chromebooks to send home with those guys. Our elementary students, or K-5 is where we didn't have enough Chromebooks. So these 300 Chromebooks, depending on when they come in, we'll either go to our Jump Start students or to one of our elementary schools to make sure that these students have devices at school and to take home.
Great, thank you very much. Next question. Well, if there are no other questions, I'd like to thank everyone who was on our panel this morning to make this exciting announcement. A press release will be going out as soon as we end this meeting. But again, thanks to Andre Smith and the Carolina Panthers for initiating this, reaching out to DPI and also to Lenovo to do it. Any other closing remarks from anyone before we leave?
I want to say thank you again, then I'll let Andre finish up. Just thank y'all very much. This is going to make a huge impact for a lot of students. Thank y'all.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone that was involved. I know, Carolina Panthers are the platform and the big name behind it, but there were a lot of people involved in creating this. It was a lot of hands involved. So really, thank you to all those unsung heroes, and thank you to Lenovo for partnering with us. Very thankful. Glad we can affect change. Great change.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everyone. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, everyone, and you have a good rest of your day.